Sure. All right, guys, welcome back to the Bluegrass. It's a beautiful June day. We are out in our pre-adventure area, and George thought that you guys might be interested in comparing and contrasting a Boykin Spaniel and a British-style hunting lab, and they're both about the same age. They're both in between 5 and 6 months. Back up there, cameraman. Show them what we have. Show them, George. Okay, so this, guys, is a Boykin Spaniel, and I had George pick her up so you guys could see her because Boykin Spaniels, they have this little Boykin bounce to them, and so they're constantly bouncing around, and they are almost impossible to get to sit still for a picture or a video, okay? And so what we'll do right now is we'll kind of show you what these dogs are up to. Now, Maxie is here. For you guys have been following my channel a long time. I made a video a long time ago, and it's called how to raise a house dog that goes hunting sometime. I do a lot of those. And so Maxie's an awesome little dog, and he's gonna go hunting quite a bit of time, but still gonna be a house dog most of the time. Now Lula here, she's just here for adventure. Her mom is a travel writer. She just travels all over the country and goes and does fun stuff and then writes stories about it. So she's gonna be an adventure dog. But for the most part, since they get along so well, since they're big buddies, we let them tag along because the base level, their foundation training, it's pretty much the same, you know. The only thing we really do different between the adventure training and the house dog that goes hunting sometimes training is the gunfire and the introduction of feathers at a young age and stuff. We still do the retrieving with all the dogs. Now, I think what you're going to notice throughout the course of this video, especially once we go to the farm, is that Lula is a bundle, hold that, Georgie, is a bundle of energy. I mean, she just is always into stuff. She's just bouncing around. She's in and out and moving and carrying on and wrestling with the other dogs. And so she's always relatively close, okay, but she's not real close. And that's kind of the big difference when we go to moving around between her and Maxie. And you'll see it in the fetching. You'll see it when we do the chase and follow games. Back up, cameraman, so you can see what they're doing. Okay, so this right here, see this wrestling and playing? Okay, these Boykins are big wrestlers, big players, and they'll drag these labs along into that flushing dog style. Now you got to remember, these Boykins are bred to kind of get out in front of a hunter and bounce around and look for birds, you know, look for game. And so you can't hold them to the same obedience standard that you hold the labs, especially these British style labs. Okay, you might say, well, Stonnie, what do you mean by British style labs? Well, the fella that owns Maxie, he goes over to Ireland and Scotland and goes hunting on these big manors. And he really likes the kind of Labrador Retrievers they have in those areas, okay? And so Maxie is bred on those Scottish lines. And basically what they do over there is they breed a dog that's super sensitive and requires little to no compulsion to raise and make a good retriever out of, right? So they're not just 100% interested in the overall drive of the, oh, well, listen, this thing always gets twisted up on me. They're not 100% interested in just the drive of the dog, you know, the retrieving drive. They kind of look more into the totality of the dog, and they place special emphasis on the dog's natural propensity to deliver to hand and to work in a calm and deliberate manner. So I'm gonna do a little retrieving with both of these dogs, and then we'll go do some chase and follow games. And I want you to watch as I'm doing the retrieving with Maxie, and you'll kind of see that he doesn't retrieve with the same kind of vigor that Henry or my dog No Name does, you know, but he's a good little worker, and especially at around 5 months old, you know, he's fun to work. Now you might say, Stonnie, what's up with this big red umbrella? Okay, well that is what's known, what is it, cameraman? It's just called a sport brella. I'll give you guys a little pro tip. When you're doing retriever training and you have to do it like in the summertime when it's hot, one of the things you're going to struggle with all the time is that you'll like throw your retrieving item. The dog will be kind of excited to go get it, but then they'll dart off to a shady area. So a simple thing to do is to take your own shady spot with you, right? So you and the dog kind of post up in the shade, you throw your retrieving item outside of the shade, and then the dog runs back to you because you're there, and because the shade's there, and because bringing the retrieving item back to you drives the game. Okay, I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So we're going to do two types of retrieving drills. One is called a chair drill. It's an inductive retrieve. And then we're going to do what are called one-for-ones, which are trade-up retrieves, where the dog brings me an item to get me to throw another item for it. All right, so George, why don't you take Lula over there in the shade and let her rest, and I'll work Maxie, and then we'll trade, okay? So we'll start our comparison right now. I'm going to move back here and I'm going to get in the shade. Now, one of the problems that we've run into though is while I'm sitting in the shade, you guys can't see Maxie because he's so dark. And for those of you who are not familiar with retrieving problems in the summertime, basically what happens is, remember, dogs do not dissipate heat very well. No dog of any kind does very well in the direct sunshine, right? But the dogs I'm working today, one of them's black and one of them's dark brown, and so both of them, they just soak up. Here, come here, Maxie, come here. If you don't understand this, guys, the next time you're out around a black dog, just like if you're out walking around at the park or something, ask their owner if you can just lay your hand on their coat. And what you will notice is that their coat is just burning up. It just soaks up heat. I mean, it's just crazy how much heat it soaks up. So one of the most common problems that people email me about is their dogs aren't wanting to retrieve. And I'm like, hey, it's July. Of course they're not wanting to retrieve. You know, in the dog business, the winter time is when you always get your most reps. All right, so I'm stationing myself over here in the shade, stationing Maxie over here in the shade, and all I'm gonna do is work on him retrieving to hand, right? So I'm gonna take his retrieving item, I'm gonna toss his retrieving item out, okay? He's gonna run back here towards the shade. I'm going to take the retrieving item, tell him he did a good job, and then reward him when he gets over here on my left side in what we call the service heel position, okay? Now, he doesn't have to stay there. We're just playing a game right now. I want him to understand how coming over here and being in this spot leads to good things, right? So I'm going to throw him another little retrieve. Very nice. He comes back. Now, watch. This is the neat thing about like an inductive retrieve. Look, I can just kind of target him right here into this spot beside my chair. And that just creates habits, and it happens very quickly. So back up there a little bit, cameraman. And I'm going to throw my retrieving item a little farther. Come on, Maxie. So watch. Here's Maxie's going to come on right over here to the left side. He's going to get in position. I'm going to take the retrieving item, and I'm going to give him a little treat. Now, I'm going to pull my chair out of the shade so that you guys can see what's going on just a little bit better. And we'll just do this a couple of reps, since this kind of... Listen, you wouldn't even believe how much difference there is in between the number of reps you can get in the shade when you're sitting in the shade and when you're not. Because the shade really provides refuge. Even though the dog's not running far, they know that heat's out there and they run back to that shade like 100 miles an hour. So look, Maxie's being calm, attentive, and polite. And in the inductive retrieve, you always want to draw your attention, the dog's attention, to the relationship between being calm, attentive, and polite and gaining access to the retrieving item. Okay, now notice I'm not really trying to encourage him much here. This drill is designed specifically to make sure that Maxie understands what the essence of retrieving is, which is to take the retrieving item and deliver it right to my hand calmly. So see, he comes right over here, gets right into a spot, and he waits patiently and calmly, and then I tell him he's done a great job. Notice I'm not really, I'm not making over him, I'm not trying to get him excited, I'm not talking to him like in a upbeat manner. I'm being really calm, and I'm just working towards the goal of making sure the dog understands that the essence of what we're doing is retrieving to my hand. Okay, that's super important. And that's really easy, okay, with the dog bred on these kind of lines. And remember what I was telling you, like those, what they call British style. Now that's just a colloquialism, right? It's not, I mean, it's not really, the Labradors, when people will talk about them, they'll call them things. They'll say field bred, show bred, bench bred, English, British, you know. Okay, so basically, let me explain this as well as I can. Maxie is a Labrador Retriever bred on Scottish lines in the manner of dogs that hunt on manners. I guess that's kind of a, what do they call that? A pun or something? I don't know. Okay, but specifically, he was bred to require very little in the way of formal or strict obedience training to be a good hunting dog, right? And he's very mild-mannered, he's very sensitive. So you can't fuss at him, you can't use much compulsion in your training program. Okay, basically with this type of dog, you just, you know, set the stage for them to be successful and then gradually increase your expectations over time. Okay, back on up, cameraman. Now, you guys notice that while I'm talking, every time I go to talking, Maxie will voluntarily go back to the shade. That's why we use this particular method in the summertime. So that's what we call an inductive retrieve, and specifically it's called a chair drill. Now I want to work on getting Maxie to retrieve with a little bit more vim and vigor. All right, so we're going to do trade up. So watch, I'm going to take a retrieving item, I'm going to throw it towards the cameraman. Now watch. Maxie, Maxie, come here. Oh my gosh. So Maxie comes to me, and as soon as he gets back, psst, I throw another retrieving item. Oh my gosh, very good, Maxie. Oh, just a very good dog. Now you might say, well, Stonnie, that looked very precise and Maxie did his job well, but he doesn't look like he runs quite as hard as No Name or Henry did at the same age. He doesn't. He's not that style of dog. No Name and Henry, though, they've got so much drive that they'll run, you know, they'll run right past things sometimes. I mean, they just run themselves to death. They'll run themselves till they fall over, you know. These style dogs, these British style dogs like Maxie, they're a little bit more sensitive and they're a little bit more deliberate in the manner with which they retrieve. Okay, so now as I'm walking, okay, since it's summertime, I don't do very many repetitions in a row. Cameraman's gonna go back this way. I'm gonna throw the retrieving item, and I want to teach Maxie, come on, good dog, that he is in charge of driving this game. Come here, buddy. Very nice. Very nice. So he brings me one, and then I throw one. Very good dog, Maxie. And then after a while, we start to add a little extra element to the drill, which is like this. Watch, I throw it. Now I'm going to throw one over this direction. Oh, very good, Maxie. So Maxie comes back, and he's looking for information, and I say, okay, go that way. There's one over there to get. And I throw the other one off to my right. Oh my gosh, Maxie's a good dog. And he says, where's the other one, Stonnie? And I'm like, it's over there. And then I throw one back there towards the cameraman. Oh my gosh, Maxie, come here, come here. Now go back this way, Maxie. Maxie, go back that way. And that's how we introduce the concept of directional commands, okay? Oh, that's a very good, Maxie. And then I just put it up, and you know, I'm gonna take my walk and rest for a little while, and then I'll kind of throw 2 or 3 again in 15 or 20 minutes, then I'll do 2 or 3, and then we'll go back to the chair drills a little bit. And what I want you to understand, especially in the summertime, you have to break your retrieving sessions up into like lots of sessions with very low repetitions, okay? And that's especially important. Back up, cameraman, so you can see that, just to make this point one last time. You see right here, Maxie has found a spot of shade. No matter where we are, okay, he's gonna go to the shade. That's why I'm taking my shade with him, and I'm also being very empathetic in that black dogs get hot quickly, so that's why I break up my sessions. Lots of short sessions, preferably near the water. Okay, now we'll get the Boykin. We'll see how she does in the heat. All right, now we have Lula over here, and we're gonna make a slight adjustment to our drills, and that we're gonna use a long line with Lula because remember I was telling you, those Boykins, they like to get out and range around in front of you and look for game and kind of, you know, they like to hunt on their own and bring you along. So if I give her the retrieving item, then what she's going to do is she's going to get to bouncing around with it and be real proud, and she's going to go off in the weeds somewhere and get in a shady spot, and I'm not going to find her, okay? And so this right here is one of your first, you know, like first comparison points. Like if you want to go out and you want a dog that's like right there with you all the time, looking at you all the time, like following you around, picking up sticks and saying, hey Stonnie, you know, what can I do for you next? That goes a little bit more towards the Labrador. If you want to go out and you want to watch a dog bounce around and like make a few more of their own decisions and actively look for things on their own and expect you to follow, well then that's going to go a little bit more towards the Boykin. But what you'll see though is that, where is Lula? Where did she go to immediately, right? She immediately went to the shade. And so that's why I brought the shade with me. You know? Like, guys, you know, I've seen a million times people get in big battles with dogs over things that really can be fixed with simple environmental considerations, you know. So watch, I'm gonna just hold into my long line, keep Lula from running off. Lula, look at what I got. Now, here's what you're gonna notice. The cameraman will have to back up a little bit because Lula's liable to run plumb over her. Lula's so athletic and she really likes to chase and get it. Very nice. So she's gonna come back. Oh my gosh, come here, Lula. And you see she overruns me a little bit. Now remember I was telling you before kind of a difference between Maxie and No Name and Henry when they were young? They would overrun me a little bit too. They would just get so excited. They would run and they would overrun the retrieving item, then they would run back to me and overrun me. It was crazy. And Lula's a little bit like that. All right, you ready, Lula? Oh my gosh, you get so excited. So there she goes. Oh my gosh, Lula's a good dog. Oh, come here. And you see just this little tendency to go a little bit farther than Maxie. Everything she does. Okay, so the cameraman's gonna have to stay back there a little ways because Lula's too fast for her. Okay, let's get another repetition here so that you can see, cameraman. Bend down a little bit maybe. There you go. Oh my gosh, you're a good dog, Lula. All right, now I'm gonna come out of the shade so that you guys can see exactly how I'm doing this inductive retrieve. Come on, Lula. Now I'm still gonna position myself in front of the shade. So a lot of times the dog will like try to run past me to get to the shade and I'll just snag up the retrieving item. Oh, come on, Lula. You a smarty. Now look, oh, Lula is, she's looking around over there for how to get around me to get to the shade. And you might say, well, Stonnie, why did you reward her? Remember, guys, what we're rewarding here is progress. Now, I wouldn't reward Maxie for that kind of activity because that would not be progress for Maxie, okay? But Lula used to just get the retrieving item and run away from me, you know? Even if I had the long line on her, I'd put the long line on her, I'd throw the retrieving item and she'd take off running, then she'd battle me on the long line. Oh, you're a very good dog. And at least now she's coming back towards me, right? And so that's pretty good. And when we're in the house, we're playing in the corner of the hallway, then her retrieves are pretty on point. So what we have to do here is we have to work, you know, on the concept of incremental progress. Very nice. Okay, so I got a few of those kind of retrieves. Now remember what those kind of retrieves are for. Those kind of retrieves are to make the dog understand the relationship between being calm, attentive, and polite and precisely delivering the retrieving item to my hand. Okay, so I didn't get too awful excited. I had to get a little more excited with Lula than I had to get with Maxie because retrieving straight to the hand is not as much a point of emphasis in the Boykin breeding as it is in those British style field labs. Okay, cameraman, back up a little bit. We're gonna do some trade-ups. Now, trade-ups are one-for-ones. Basically, this is where we work on our drive. This is where we work on making the dog like really understand that they can drive the activity. I want Lula to understand, okay, come on, Lula, to understand that she can go get a retrieving item and drive me to throw the next retrieving item just by bringing it back. Very nice. Oh, you're a good dog, Lula. You're a very good dog. You're very good. So now I'll be much more excited, much more animated. Because all I'm working on here, oh my gosh, is the vim and vigor of it all. Oh my gosh, you're a very good dog. And I like to break up those two drills because each one of them is good for a specific thing, right? The inductive retrieve, oh my gosh. You can sit around your house and you can practice picking up a lot of different things. You can name things if you want, but you can really get the dog to understand that, like, you want it to go get something and deliver it to your hand. And if the dog understands that simple concept, oh, you're not getting to the shade. If the dog understands that simple concept, then it doesn't matter whether the retrieving item is 3 yards, 30 yards, or 300 yards away. Now, if I've got a dog that understands I'd like it to go 3 yards, 30 yards, or 300 yards, then it becomes an issue of motivation. Does the dog have a good baseline of motivation? And that's what the one-for-ones establish, is the dog starts to really understand that, like, her attitude and speed is directly tied to the release and re-engagement of the retrieving activity. Oh, good girl. Now you notice I got quite a few more reps in with Lula right there. Come on, Lula. Come on, nerd. And so I probably should have stopped, but I was talking and I was trying to make a point. But come over here again, cameraman, and look. You see how she's got over here under this old grapevine, and she has found her just a little bit of shade, okay? Now that right there is a classic training mistake. In retrieving, one of the most common mistakes you can make is to try to get too much retrieving per session. And I know you guys are working, you have limited time to get out and get to the training field, but trust me, less is more when it comes to retrieving, right? So I should have stopped on the second or third retrieve, and I pushed it so I could make a point. And ultimately, as a result of me pushing it, I did make a point. It wasn't the point I wanted to make, right? The point I was trying to make is that the 1-for-1 make dogs retrieve with a lot of energy, right? But inadvertently, I made the point that if you overestimate how many retrieves you can get, you'll get a dog that ends up over in the shade somewhere, and then you can't end on that note, right? All right, so I'm gonna try to get one more retrieve, cameraman, get her out of the shade. So I'm gonna back up into the sport brella shade. Come on. And I got to try to end my session with a successful repetition. So we'll be here, and I'll throw the retrieving item. Oh my gosh, come on, nerd. And she's going to run back to the shade, and I'm going to say, oh, I appreciate it. Very nice. Okay? So I kind of salvaged it, right? I mean, I did salvage it, but don't get yourself in those situations where you have to salvage your training session. It ends up costing you work in the long run. The fastest way to teach a puppy nothing is to try to teach them everything at once. All right, now we'll go and do some other drills that I think are important, and we'll continue to look at the difference between the Boykin and the Labrador. All right, now we are going to do what are called chase and follow games. So if I'm outside in a big, high distraction environment, then I have to be interesting if I want these dogs to be concerned with where I am, okay? Now, again, you're gonna start to notice a difference between the Lab and the Boykin. The Lab's with me a lot more, and I'm sure that the Boykin is around here somewhere. Let's see if we can find her. She's probably in the shade over here. Oh, yeah, look, there she is. Maxie found her for me. So show her. And this is what I mean, guys. Like when I go to walking around, like the dogs are kind of naturally like, Stonnie, I don't know. What are you going to go do that's so fun? Laying in the shade seems awful fun to us. And so come back over here to me, cameraman. Basically, I have to make the dogs make a calculation based on their perception of the motivational value of hanging out with me versus doing whatever it seems to be more fun in the environment, right? If the dog sees going and laying in the shade is more fun than me, well, that's what they're going to do. If they see chasing a deer is more fun than me, well, that's what they're going to do. Playing with other dogs, it doesn't matter what it is. If I find myself in a relative motivational deficit, I lose, okay? So I have to try to be interesting, and that can be hard, okay? But being interesting starts with doing interesting things. So one of the things I like to do is like to use movement, okay? And I like to make follow me around into a little bit of a game. And we'll see if we can get it to work here. Come on, dogs, come on. See, I'll take off running, and if I take off running, come on, dogs, come on, come on, come on. Theoretically, what'll happen is those dogs will notice that I'm running away, and then they'll go, well, I wonder where Stonie's going. And then they'll run to find me. Now look what happened here. The Lab came right to me. Now the Boykin's coming, but like she waited a little while until she was trying to make that, she's kind of making that comparison. Like, do I really want to leave the shade to go see what Stonie's doing? Now another thing I'll do is I'll kind of take off running and hide from them. Come on, dogs, come on. Get over here in the brush. And I'll hide from them. And if they can find me, then I'll pet on them and love on them, maybe give them a treat. And again, what you see is that the Lab is already over here with me. It's paying attention. It says, Stonnie, no matter how hot it is, then I'm gonna go where you go, okay? Now, where the Boykin went, I don't know. She's over there. Yep, well, here she comes. Look, can you see her, cameraman? Making her way. Oh, you're a good dog. You're a very good dog. So she's coming, right? But she's coming a little more slowly, and she's going away a little farther. So the walk is kind of going like this. I'm walking, the Lab goes a little ways away, finds a shady spot, and then comes back and finds me. The Boykin goes a little farther away, finds more of a shady spot, stays gone longer, and then takes longer to find me. And that's, listen, that is I think, pretty standard with the breed. Let's see if I can get them to chase me. Come on, dogs. Very nice. Oh, very nice. I'll come back to you, cameraman. Oh my gosh, very nice. Come on, come on. Good, I had to stop again and give the Boykin time to catch me. Now I'm gonna run up the hill. Oh, come on, come on. Come on, dogs, come on, come on. And I'll go back into the brush. Oh my gosh, run over here, hide a little bit. Good. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so Maxie found me. Cameraman, look and see what Lula's doing. Oh, now Lula found me. And so Lula's kind of getting the point of the game, right? And I would say, again, pretty much par for the course. The Boykins, they do the same stuff that Labs do. They just do it in a little different manner, and they kind of do it at their own pace. Right? So back up, I'll show one last time before we go over to the farm. Even though it's hot, right? Even though we've been running around doing silly stuff, look at where Maxie is, okay? Now back up over there, cameraman, and show them what Lula has done. Lula has just went up and she's like found her own spot, and she says, Stonnie, I'm close enough. And I think that's the big difference, as you guys will notice if you're thinking about getting a Boykin, is the Boykins kind of want to determine their own limits in terms of what is close enough or too far away. And the Labs, like, they just can't get close enough. So I hope that kind of gives you a little idea of what it's like to train a Boykin versus a British style field lab. And next part of the video, or maybe video number 2, we'll just go over to the farm and I'll get out of the truck and we'll just take a big walk, and you can kind of just watch them run around and see if the traits you noticed in the pre-adventure area hold true in a completely off-leash, wild, high distraction level area. All right, see y'all next week.